The first night I heard the knocking, I simply brushed it off as the old house settling. My mother used to share stories about how houses creak and moan as they grow older, much like the people who live inside them. I often found myself recalling those tales while I curled up in my small bedroom, working late on my freelance design projects. At 33, I had just moved back to my childhood home after a relationship went awry, trying to find my footing again. My daily routine was straightforward. From morning until late at night, I worked, occasionally stepping outside to inhale the fresh air of the suburban neighborhood. After the confines of a cramped city apartment, I cherished having a space to call my own, even if the walls held secrets I wasn't quite ready to confront. The neighborhood was quiet, lined with trees and aging houses, but there was a certain comfort in its predictability. One of those evenings, while I was absorbed in my work, I first heard it, a soft knock, as if someone were gently tapping their fingers on a door. I paused, lowering the volume of the music in my headphones. There it was again, just a faint thud. I reassured myself it was likely just a branch brushing against the window. Autumn had a way of stirring the trees. The wind made them dance. I shrugged it off and returned to my design software, hoping to meet my deadlines. But the knocking returned the next night. Again, it was soft and rhythmic, nothing to be alarmed by at first. I told myself it was merely the old house creaking, echoes of its long history. My mother had lived here all her life, and the walls had gathered her laughter and her tears. They seemed to hold memories of me as well, the air thick with familiarity. As days turned into weeks, the knocking became a fixture in my nights. It typically appeared when I settled down for the evening, around 10 o'clock. There was something unusual about its pattern. It wasn't random. Like clockwork, it would start at 10:15 and last about 20 minutes before fading away. Each time it began, a knot formed in my stomach, but I pushed the unease away, distracting myself with design work and streaming shows. Then, one evening, something strange happened. As I was getting into bed, I noticed a flash of shadow crossing the window. My heart raced, but I assured myself it was just a trick of the light, a playful dance between the street lamp outside and the reflections in the glass. Even though it left me feeling restless, the knocking drew me back, that steady rhythm almost inviting. I told myself it was just my imagination, a symptom of isolation. One Friday night, I decided it was time to confront whatever was knocking on my window. My friends had teased me about returning home to face my demons, and it seemed fitting to take this step. After all, what harm could come from a little investigation? At 10:15, I set my laptop aside, steeling myself for the encounter. The knocking began as I crept toward the living room, its familiar cadence echoing in my chest. I cautiously peeked out the window, half expecting to see a neighbor or a mischievous child playing pranks. But there was nothing, just the empty street bathed in the orange glow of the lamp. Then I made a mistake. Instead of retreating to the safety of my cozy room, I stepped outside to investigate. The night felt unnervingly quiet, an eerie stillness hanging in the air. All I could hear was the distant hum of traffic and the rustling leaves. I carefully navigated down the porch steps, the wooden slats creaking underfoot. I hesitantly called out, "Hello?" The only response was the soft echo of my voice. My heart raced, tinged with anticipation. I wandered a few paces down the path, feeling the wind pick up, making me shiver. For a fleeting moment, I thought I heard my mother's laughter, a whisper from the past cutting through the present. I quickly dismissed it as my imagination, yet the feeling settled heavily in my gut. As I was about to turn back, I noticed something moving at the edge of the trees, a dark shape blending into the shadows. My heart raced, a mix of fear and curiosity swirling within me. I remembered the knocking, that strange rhythm now woven into my life. "Hello?" I called again, my voice trembling. The figure remained still, defiantly watching. I squinted, trying to make out its features in the darkness. The moment stretched infinitely. My instincts screamed for me to retreat, to return to the safety of my home. But I pushed those thoughts away. I had come this far. Surely I couldn't walk away without knowing. As I stepped closer, my foot struck something hard, and I lost my balance. The figure flickered away for a moment. I hurried to steady myself and stepped back. The air felt thick with tension. My heart raced as I called out, "What do you want?" It felt absurd, but the heavy silence pressed down on me. Suddenly, I felt a chilling presence, a sensation that made my skin crawl, as if someone were watching. At that moment, the figure reappeared, now closer. I stumbled backward. The unnerving realization hit me. The figure wasn't moving. It was just standing there, watching me. Panic set in. I turned and sprinted back to the porch, my heart racing as the knocking echoed in my mind. But now it sounded louder, more insistent. I fumbled with the door, nearly colliding with the frame as I pushed it open and slammed it shut behind me. Inside, I heard it again, the slow knock reverberating in the dark, as if waiting for my return. I sank onto the living room floor, my back pressed against the door, the rhythmic tapping now feeling like a taunt to my earlier bravado. Each knock felt heavier, a weight settling within my home. The knocking grew louder, more frantic, as if demanding something urgent. Days flew by, and the relentless knocking haunted my nights. Sleep slipped from my grasp. I found myself lying awake, tense and straining to listen, until exhaustion finally claimed me. My imagination spiraled, convinced the figure in the trees was linked to the knocks. What could it want? Why had I ventured outside? Tonight, a feeling of understanding washed over me, a troubling realization creeping into my thoughts. Each knock felt like a reminder of something I had long ignored, perhaps an invitation to delve deeper into my mother's past and the echoes that filled this house. I had returned seeking solace, but instead, I might have awakened something else. The urgency in the knocking felt like a warning I was too frightened to heed. With a sense of foreboding, I resigned myself to an uneasy sleep, the relentless knocking serving as my lullaby. Yet it would not cease, and the weight of its implications sat heavily on my chest. Sometimes we don't recognize the rules that bind us until we find ourselves too deep within their grasp. There are consequences to breaking them. I still hear it at night, the knocking, unwavering, as if waiting for me to finally understand. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and share it with someone who enjoys quiet horror.